How is the Iran war or the West Asia conflict affecting India? Remember, when this started off, we had talked about shortage of LPG. Now it's starting to hit various industries and ordinary citizens, and we've made an entire list of how this West Asia conflict is hitting India. But before we get to it, I must point out to you, in latest information, Donald Trump has put out one more social media post as we inch towards his deadline. Now remember, the deadline that he gave Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz expires at 8 p.m. Eastern time in the US, which is about 6 in the morning roughly for India. We're going to keep an eye on it, but before that, Trump has put out another post, and this one, thankfully, has no bad language in it. It has bad intent, though. Let me read it out to you. It says, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However," he says, "now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in the long, complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran." End quote. And this was, a couple of hours ago. I want to just for a minute examine this language. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. This is not the language of a leader of a country, a leader of a democratic country. This is not a language of a citizen of the world, let alone the self-proclaimed or self-appointed leader of the free world that America has always called itself. This sounds like something you'll hear out of Al-Qaeda or ISIS. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. Who talks like that? I mean, which democratic country, which member of the United Nations, which citizen of the world can talk like this? And as deranged as this sounds, he does still represent one of the most powerful countries in the world, the most powerful military in the world. And his country seems to be okay with this kind of behavior, and that is what I find completely shocking. So that's the latest, and we're going to wait, the 10 hours or so before that deadline expires to figure out what's going to happen next. But in the meantime, like I promised, this video is about how this war continues to impact India. Before we get to it, I want to ask you to like, share, subscribe. Also sign up for our membership. For our members who do sign up every day, we put out a news bulletin which is curated, fact-checked, where we put out all of the information that's relevant to you from around the world, and we give it to you in a news bulletin. It's becoming fairly well accepted, and people like it a lot. So do give it a listen, sign up for our membership, and let me know how we can improve that for you. Okay, let's take a look at how this Iran war is affecting India. To begin with, as of today, Air India, the entire group, which is Air India plus Air India Express, has revised its fuel surcharge on domestic and international flights after the sharp rise of global jet fuel prices. Now, this will take into effect from Wednesday, which is tomorrow, for most routes. Now, on the international circuit for Europe, North America, Australia, the revised surcharge will apply at the end of the week. Now, Air India Group said the fuel surcharge will be about 299 rupees to 899 rupees on domestic flights, $24 to $280 on international flights. They've basically said it's because jet fuel prices have gone up. Now, I want to remind you that ATF accounts for 40 to 45% of the airline's total cost, and there are two things that hit it. One is, of course, the crude oil prices and the fact that refinery margin, which is called crack spread, has also gone up. It's in fact tripled in the last 3 weeks, and so that is why Air India, and we know earlier that Indigo also had increased its prices. Apart from that, prices of LPG cylinders, commercial LPG cylinders that are used by hotels and restaurants, and the smaller cylinders are seeing a significant increase. In Delhi, the price of a commercial cylinder is now 2,078 rupees. That's an increase of nearly 200 rupees. And because of the fact that the small 5 kg cylinders and the commercial cylinders have now increased, migrant workers are being forced to leave cities and head back home. You'll remember, I mean, this is deja vu. 5 years ago during COVID-19, millions of migrant workers were forced to leave the cities and return back to their villages. Very similar, feels are coming out of our train stations right now. Cooking gas has become scarce and expensive, and so people who are working as migrant laborers, they tend to live in shared accommodation, and they tend to share food. Now what has happened is basically these cylinders have become so expensive that it's eating into all of their savings and making the entire live in the city and send money back home unviable. According to a report in the Times of India, through the first 2 weeks of March, many factory workers in the informal sector were hoping to ride out the phase, but by the end of March, they had to start going home. Now, there are reports saying that from the NCR, people are effectively going back to Bihar right now. Basically, they use the 3 kg cylinder, which is normally about 40 or 50 rupees, but apparently in the black market, it's now 500 rupees, and they simply cannot afford it. Not only in the NCR, apparently the crisis of LPG is sending workers back to Bihar. In Patna, in Dhanapur railway station, apparently they said people who spoke to them said they had no option but to leave because they simply could not afford food. One worker said the cooking gas crisis also led to food shortages. In Mumbai, migrants have begun leaving as well. Passenger trains going to Uttar Pradesh from the Lokmanya Tilak terminus also were full of migrant laborers who were going home. In Surat, Gujarat, the shortage was visible because of workers. About 150,000 laborers have left the city of Surat in the last 30 days. Apart from that, the cost of bottled water in India has gone up. Now, India has a $6 billion bottled water industry that's currently under strain. Now, why is bottled water under strain? Because bottled water is sold mainly in plastic bottles, and plastic has become expensive because plastic is made out of PET resin, PET, and those PET resin pellets come out of crude. It is a petroleum byproduct. So the granules that are heated and they're used to make plastic bottles are actually made out of crude oil. And so with crude oil becoming more expensive, plastic, test tubes, bottles, all of these things are going to become more expensive. Let's take a look at those numbers. Market leader, I beg your pardon, is Bisleri. Bisleri increased its prices by 11%. So a box of 12 1-litre bottles now is more expensive by 24 rupees from Bisleri. Bailey's Clear Premium Water have also increased their prices. This is according to a Reuters news report. According to a study by Data for India, 15% of urban households and 6% of rural households depend on bottled water for their drinking needs. And this will become, especially in the summer when the demand goes up, it will become prohibitively expensive for them to continue to use bottled water, which means that they will start using water that's unfit for drinking. There's groundwater that's contaminated. There are infrastructure gaps in terms of water supply in India. So obviously this is causing a major problem. So the price of a 1-litre bottled drinking water, which sells at about 20 rupees, will go up substantially. Although the companies are saying that they're trying to absorb that price, but it's unlikely that it will happen. So obviously plastic bottles are being hit, but glass bottles are being hit as well now. And that means the users of glass bottles are beer manufacturers. So last month, the Brewers Association of India, which represents Heineken and Carlsberg, told Reuters that the prices of glass bottles have surged 20%. And they are now having to request state governments in India to allow them to increase the price of beer by 12 to 15%. Remember, in most of the country, alcohol prices are regulated by state governments. Now, the Confederation of Alcohol Beverage Companies have also asked the states if they can increase those prices. Apparently, the CEO of Vitrum Glass, the leading manufacturer of glass bottles, has basically said the price rise is the fluctuating supply of natural gas. So apparently they use gas in their furnaces to melt sand, soda ash, limestone and recycled glass to make new glass blobs that are then shaped into bottles. And so if natural gas regulations, remember supply is hard because if you'll remember when the war broke out, the Indian government decided to prioritize LPG. So whatever gas was coming in was prioritized for LPG over everybody else. So one of those suffering was the glass bottle manufacturers, and as a result, it's hit beer manufacturers. Supply of natural gas has been cut by 20%, making it difficult for glass manufacturers to run their furnaces as they would normally. The other sector that's been hit is ceramic wall tiles. Also, apparently, they use natural gas, and so they've not been able to run their furnaces as much as they would have liked to. So it's become expensive, and a lot of the factories are shut. Apparently, 45 factories have shut so far. So apart from glass bottles, there are two very odd other stories that have emerged of sectors that have been hit. One of them is Bikaner Bhujia. So apparently exporters from the Bikaner region who actually export food items like bhujia, papad, spices to the Gulf and Europe are facing disruptions because one is obviously freight costs have gone up, so the cargo ships and containers are affecting those exports. Also for them, rising petroleum prices have pushed packaging costs up by 30 to 40%, adding an extra burden on those manufacturers. So this has actually become really a crucial period for the namkeen trade. And this is normally apparently peak season because this is where the preparations actually happen in this season. But according to industry estimates, 15 to 20 containers of bhujia, papad and namkeen are exported every month from Bikaner, along with 60 containers of other such items. But now, if the situation persists, traders say it will have a significant impact on the country's export-driven economy. The other industry that seems to be hit is the condom industry. We have an 8,000 crore rupee condom industry in India, and it's expected to become expensive because raw materials used in production are actually now hard to come by. Major manufacturers, HLL Lifecare, Cupid Limited, Mankind Pharma has said the delivery of raw materials have been delayed because of shipping routes. And so the main ingredients, silicone oil, which is used for lubricants, become hard to come by. I didn't intend that pun. While a couple of other, other materials as well have become expensive. And so the condom industry is hit, and it is likely also that the prices will increase. So raw materials like aluminum foil, PVC that are used in packaging are also difficult to come by. But the real important problem that we are going to face, that our government has not effectively or has not confirmed yet, but is coming in because this is what other countries are facing right now, is the shortage of fertilizer. According to a report by The Guardian, analysts by global bodies say that it will soon have a massive impact on food security. Now, Global Food Program has estimated an extra 45 million people could be pushed into acute food insecurity if this conflict doesn't end by June. South Asian countries, experts say, like India and Sri Lanka, are particularly vulnerable because we import a large amount of our fertilizer, imported gas and fuel for farming. Now, India is the world's second largest fertilizer consumer after China, using more than 60 million tons annually. And most of our exports, including finished products, raw materials, come from Gulf countries. So we might have a ripple effect of gas and fertilizer shortage to be felt in our agriculture sector. It will affect farmers who are going to go into a sowing season. It will affect the yield. It will affect stock price. It will, stockpiles of rice and wheat. So the ability of the farmers to water, to harvest, to process, to store and transport their crops will also be hit if fuel becomes more expensive. Now, India spent $22 billion on fertilizers in 2023-24, underscoring how critical it is for Indian farmers and how sensitive it is for the agriculture sector as global prices shoot up. The conflict has already begun to strain supply chains. Specifically, Punjab and Haryana, the farmers are saying immediate impact is not visible, but there is starting to be some panic because procurement for the Kharif season normally begins in May ahead of sowing of crops like rice and cotton in June and July, leaving a very narrow window if there is a fertilizer shortage, and that could generally be a problem. Now, the government, what has the Indian government said? The Prime Minister chaired a meeting of the Cabinet Committee to review immediate and long-term steps to ensure uninterrupted supplies of essential commodities. The Prime Minister stressed that the government remains committed to safeguarding safeguarding citizens, and the Cabinet Secretary presented a detailed view of the global scenario and what can be done in India to make sure agriculture, fertilizer, food security, petroleum, MSMEs do not get hit. But apart from all of these things that I read out to you, for me, the two things that are very, very stark are domestic LPG, which is supply of gas cylinders to homes and to kitchens, and the other one is fertilizer, especially fertilizer with the upcoming Kharif season, which needs to be examined because that is the big challenge. India is a largely still agriculture country. We have a large portion of our population dependent on agriculture. We simply cannot afford for agriculture to come to a standstill in any way. So the government has noted that we have existing fertilizer stocks that will be available, and we don't have a shortage right now, but the government is obviously looking very keenly into how quickly this can end and how quickly normalcy can be restored for our various sectors, but particularly for Indian farmers, because you don't want a disruption coming in that space. Leave me a comment in the comment section if you believe that we're going to end the next 12 hours with TACO, which is that Trump is possibly going to push the deadline even further. Remember, TACO is a social media abbreviation for Trump always chickens out. Or if we are actually going to see some sort of resolution. I don't want to believe that the third option is actually an option. I do hope that there is a peaceful resolution in some way. There's an off-ramp that Trump can take where he calls himself the winner and he crowns himself king, but lets us all continue with our lives. Hopefully that will be the option that finally plays out. Let me know in the comment section what you think.